Hello, my name is Apostle. Today I'm going to be doing something a little different. Today I'm going to share my thoughts and opinions on one of my favorite game series of all time, Tekken. And the response to Tekken 8 Season 3, or as I like to call it, you get what you ask for. For many people, Tekken as a franchise has been in their lives the entire time. Little brothers and sisters playing games with their older siblings introduced them to the series. For us older gamers, however, I have bad news. We've been here before. This is not a joke. I'm not being hyperbolic. Notice that there's no sarcasm in my voice. We have literally, in the proper use of the word, been in the exact situation that the community is in right now. Come with me, if you will, and travel back to the faraway time of the year 2000. A grand time when arcades weren't impossible to find in any major or minor city. ECW had yet to close its doors, but that was coming. Nintendo had just finished shooting themselves in the foot as hard as they possibly could, and would continue to do so. Sony, it seemed, was much like Obi-Wan, our only hope. Not because anyone actually believed that, just to be clear, but rather because Sega was floundering. Nintendo bet the farm on the N64, then proceeded to flail around like a child hitting the pool for the first time. Yet, as fighting game enthusiasts will fondly tell you, it was the best of times. Tekken 3 had given rise to Tekken Tag Tournament. We had Virtua Fighter alive and kicking. We had Capcom releasing a new fighter what seemed like every week, and we had SNK. The original SNK. We had King of Fighters, Fatal Fury, Sam Show, and other great SNK titles. We didn't see the shadow coming because we were standing in the light of the warm sun. Soon all of that would change. For some reason unknown to myself or most other Tekken fans, in conversation we expected either Tekken Tag 2.0 or Tekken 4 to essentially be Tekken 3 2.0. We were unprepared for the horror that awaited, a horror that was thrust upon us by two things. Things I don't really see anyone talking about much these days. For starters, Tekken Tag essentially kicked off the tournament scene in my own and many other areas. Tekken 3 was considered by many, and still to this day is considered by many, to be the best Tekken game ever created. Tekken Tag was Tekken 3 pretending to be Marvel vs. Capcom. These changes were considered okay by the community. We enjoyed the addition of the second character, of the new combos that could be done, and the eventual acknowledgement, though it came many years later, quietly dropped on the Tekken Tag Tournament page of the Zaibatsu forums. What most players had already figured out, or some even knew instinctively. The Tekken Tag Tournament was actually an extremely balanced game. Years later on the forum, someone dropped the final tier list, and it broke down into two simple categories: Wave Dash, Fox Step, KBD, Korean Backdash for the Great Unwashed, or none of those tools. Try as I might using the Wayback Machine, I was unable to find those original posts. I did, during the making of this script, video, and multiple rewrites, find other Wayback Machine posts that sent me down a rabbit hole. I can honestly say I miss lurking Zaibatsu. But now we go back to the topic at hand. Two tiers. That was it. Game knowledge, proper Oki setup, the ability to hit the hardest of moves, JFs, as they were called, were the real tools. Choose a main character, learn them, learn your opponent, play the game. That was it. Simple in its approach, and so technical that to this day, you can still come across people actively playing the game. Maybe it's changed in the years since I actively played and searched, but when I last checked, there were but two. So, Apostle, you might ask, what do you mean by comments like, you've been here before, or you get what you ask for? Well, my friends, it's simple. DOA, for all of the main game designers' bravado, was never going to pull tournament numbers like Tekken. What kept things like Marvel vs. Capcom, Tekken Tag, and other tournaments afloat was that someone could appear with brand new tech that wasn't completely broken. I lived through the discovery of the Heihachi Ganryu back throw tech and proudly used it to win a few tournaments. I lived through the Julia True Ogre top tier team tech. I lived through the new Brian Fury tech. I even lived through people breaking out Kunimitsu and Eddie Gordo, bringing them to the top. Sometimes you went to a tournament and you saw characters that most others didn't use being used in such a way that was simply exciting to watch. Kuma or Devil into King's Clothesline was new tech at some point, and we, myself and my crew, as the different teams were referred to back then, saw it all and loved it. Then Harada pulled what longtime fans, and by longtime fans, I mean having been there as a young man or young woman or adult through Tekken 3 and Tekken Tag Tournament, pulled the first of his Haradas. Apparently Harada was weak to criticism. So, when Tomonobu Itagaki, the creator of Dead or Alive, hit him in his ego, Harada folded like someone taking a liver shot from Boss Rutan. He created Tekken 4 as a specific response, and that decision has done long-term damage to the franchise. In my area alone, it killed the tournament scene for 3D fighters. We stopped traveling to other states and eventually other cities. Our once tight-knit crews all but disbanded. You didn't go to the Namco arcade to play Tekken anymore. Not in Cortana or the Mall of Louisiana. We didn't seek out new challenges on Zaibatsu because, while a core amount of players did remain, the pool had dried up. It wasn't until the quote-unquote return to form that was Tekken 5 that anyone really tried to return, and by that point, a great number of players had moved on. So believe me when I say this to the current players unhappy with the direction of Tekken 8, Season 3 being the most recent letdown across the board, we've been here before. You see, the player base that appeared after Tekken 5 DR did something that should have never been done. They rewarded Harada for being an asshole. As someone who's dealt with the public before and has seen people with fragile egos, the worst thing that someone who's the face of a company can do is have a fragile ego. It informs their decisions to a degree that they would never admit. It's easy to say I was wrong, but it's infinitely harder for people to actually reverse course. That's why, quote unquote, back to basics wasn't a promise that could be kept. That's why when complaints about comeback mechanics came around, people had two choices: deal and continue playing the series they loved, or step away. A lot of players, like myself who owned the actual arcade cabinets, stepped away. I thought Tekken 5 was the beginning of a return to form. I went out of my way to get a PS3. I'm not a Sony sycophant, but there's more to that story that's currently unfolding. But I bought T5 DR. I downloaded and played Tekken Revolution. I bought the deluxe edition of Tekken 6 because I'm an old arcade head, so I learned to play on sticks, and they have always been more comfortable to me. I bought the deluxe edition of Tekken 7 on launch, believing that it would become Tekken Tag 1 again. I should have known better and had deluded no one but myself. Tekken Tag 2 was and is a mess. Tekken 7 released characters so broken that one year, the finals in one of the major tournaments were all Leroy except for one other character. Can you guess who won that year? Yeah, it was one of the Leroys. You see, Harada had always wanted a level of respect that he accidentally accomplished with Tekken Tag 1. It was an accident, and the reason that most people no longer concern themselves with balance. The people who create games don't know how actual balance works. Honestly, I'm not sure they ever have. The players no longer see balance as the thing a fighting game should strive for. Tier lists are simply too popular, and there will always be quote unquote tier whores. It simply is what it is. The difference is now there's a lot more money on the line in these tournaments. No one wants to upset the status quo. Why not? What are they afraid of? They're afraid of Tekken 4 2.0. It's the reason that we were told they need to balance the casual experience with the pro experience, because Harada, and by extension his cohorts, want the attention. The old heads are mostly gone now. Today, the old heads from all the channels I've watched and seen seem to be younger fellows, younger than me by a large margin. And for a majority of them, that means Tekken 4, 5, or DR were their starting points. Harada, by extension, can continue to serve them things that no matter how much the community begs, he can deem right and proper. Now, I want to make something perfectly clear. I'm not saying that I know everything, and nor am I saying that myself or anyone else can quote-unquote fix Tekken. I'm not. I'm telling you that as Season 3 causes video after video to be made of people mourning the death of their beloved franchise or this version of the game, that they're the ones being a tad bit hyperbolic. Their reaction is justified, but also overblown. The game is dead is something I've heard since T4. Tekken is dead is something I've heard since T4. The truth is, well, it's far simpler. Tekken will be just fine. Your mindsets during the older days are exactly what Bamco and Harada, or whatever team takes over the reins of the game, are betting on. They are betting that you'll be replaced. That life will make it so that you are no longer the target audience. Unfortunately, as much as I loathe to admit this, they are right. Like I said, I've been here before, seen this dragon ride into the kingdom and destroy everything that I loved. Then I saw the FGC struggle to hold up the Tekken end. Then I saw the return to form of Tekken with 5 and DR. I've been here the entire time. Since my first time walking through a Tilt arcade and seeing King use the stalling suplex in Tekken 1. And to be honest, I realized after going over the script I needed to specify, because in Tekken 2, he used Chris Benoit's snap suplex, and since then a variation that was kind of in between. But I've been here and I've seen it. I watched it firsthand. Harada has always chased the mythical entire FGC audience, and that audience has never been there. The Tekken fans were. Through bad animes, horrible live-action movies, broken games, and purposely adding infinites because he wanted to keep up with the Virtus franchise and DOA. I've seen it. I've lived it. Here's what I can tell you. You'll be just fine. Tekken will be just fine. The community will continue even when the sales dip. Much like pro wrestling itself, people will just create different metrics to measure success by. and then market those successes to you as if they meant something. By adjusting metrics and by moving goalposts, there will be some creative number cruncher who can spin this in such a way that those of you who are unhappy will be ignored. It's simply what companies do, and to believe anything other than that is, again, pro wrestling. Except the difference is you're not just getting worked by the company, you're getting worked by yourself. All the fans who, quote unquote, wanted to see crazy shit got what they wanted. Where are they? Well, it wasn't quite what they wanted, right? Because now everything seems broken, and a series known for defense now looks like something more akin to a DBZ fighter with offense rather than a knowledge check, learn to defend, learn to sidestep properly meta. You got your flashy colors. You got your super cutscenes during gameplay. They made it easier than ever for you to have your very own Evo 37 moment in the comfort of your own homes. They gave you what you asked for. It was simply not what you actually wanted. What you thought you wanted wasn't actually what you wanted. What you actually wanted was Tekken gameplay. What you got was an attempt to make a 3D fighter into a forced 2D fighter with a 3D perspective. They gave you the illusion of defense, not true defense. I was playing in a tournament one time against a very good Heihachi Jin player. After the match, we were talking and he simply asked how I was able to sidestep his EWGF and punish with King's 1-2-1. 1+2-1. It was because during the game I had used the low parry option to stop his Hell Sweep mix-up. I took the set because I understood what he learned in that game, that there was a cost to everything. If you make a mistake, and I could properly punish that mistake, then he was forced back into throwing his safe moves. And then I could punish the safe moves with proper defense. We played more, and that guy was a great guy. Truth be told, most of the locals I fought consistently were great guys and gals. We helped each other. We learned from our mistakes, and we, as a community, supported games like Tekken, MVC 1 and 2, CVS 1 and 2, Street Fighter Alpha 3. I still remember seeing the Zangief Infinite for the first time. Amazing. But most importantly, we understood the things that were good and the things that were bad. Today, with the amount of social media people seem addicted to, things are no longer given time to be digested. When I played in the launch day tournaments for MVC3, I didn't exactly enjoy the game. I still don't, to be fair, but I tried. Only for a short time later, my main, Sentinel, to receive a nerf. That happened again with the release of Tekken 8. Throws received a nerf because players felt they were unbalanced. I don't think we were even completely through Season 1 when that happened. It was the cries of unfair to be expected to properly break throws and to learn to twitch duck. Even when throws were made easier than ever to break and you were given more ways to break them through different means, button binding, etc. Harada listened, rolled out the nerf. Myself and others had thought that because of the way throws now work, that a DOA crossover must be incoming. These were personal conversations, and probably an attempt to get ourselves hyped up. I mean, Tekken 7 got Geese and Akuma. It's not implausible, right? We were wrong. Instead, that nerf was hitting the panic button, because the online voices had told them to do so. People complained, they listened. You get what you ask for, but what you get isn't always what you intended. Utopia isn't a real place. It's a Greek combination of words that mean no place. Sir Thomas More used it as the title of a book. It was meant to underscore an idea. There is no perfection. perfection isn't real. Oftentimes, people who search for utopias or strive to bring about a utopia end up creating something far, far worse than what they already had. That is where Tekken is. It's caught up trying to please longtime fans, a boardroom that wants sales, clip farmers, and the terminally online who search for dopamine spikes, and casuals who remember that funny guy with the sword or that guy who has a racer head. Yet, by trying to please everyone, they have dwindled the base of happy players down to the point where almost everyone has something negative to say about Tekken 8. It's not just Season 3. Take a trip down memory lane and find yourself seeing that Season 1 and Season 2 left players unhappy. There is no utopia. There is no perfect fighting game. There is only the sales numbers that Bamco seeks to chase. There is only the desire to become a Fortnite-like entity, even when Epic has just laid off 1,000 employees. There is only the fragile ego of Harada and people like Michael Murray. And the next group of game designers after these two men are gone, they'll be just as bad, if not worse. Except for the possible chance of whoever becomes the face of the series to have enough common sense to not wear a "Don't Ask Me for Shit" shirt. I know some people will defend this. I know some people will still come up with what they consider to be logical counter arguments. And I want to make this very clear. That is their right. Again, I would never seek to take away someone's opinion. Someone out there likes Season 3. However, Tekken is different now. In fact, the world is different now. Celebrities seem to hate the people they make entertainment for. Game designers seem to hate the myriad number of gamers who bought their products. Fans antagonize long after the lights have gone down, and griefers never go away. People counter hate with hate. I'm offering you a different solution. Stop giving people who hate you the money to continue hating you. I realized that Tekken wasn't going back a long time ago and made peace with it. I understood that my voice was never the loudest, and so, while I have expressed my opinions, you'll find that I don't at anyone on social media, on any platform. What good does yelling at someone do once their mind has already been made up? You see, most people say to let the anger out, but the studies show that that is actually an incredibly bad idea. Your neural connectors will only reinforce that bad behavior. Facts were once the thing that we could consider the bottom line, but today in this world, we can't even agree on simple facts. So here is one thing that is abundantly clear. Tekken, and the games like them, will continue along until the companies that own the IP no longer see them as being worthy of investing in. We've seen it with Soul Calibur. We're seeing it with DOA. People are hoping and praying that a new Virtua Fighter comes out and it cleans the slate. It won't. Not because it can't. Not because the people who create it don't have love for the franchise. Not because Sarah sucks or Wolf will be too strong. It won't because it will target a new audience and not 30 to 50-year-old men who still play at a high level. We've aged out. The next gen of fighting game players won't have the baggage that we had. To them, if it connects, it will just be their favorite game, like Tekken was for so many of us. Insulting Harada online was the side effect of being served the cold pie that was Tekken for so long. We didn't get hot apple pie with a scoop of vanilla on top. We got their version of it, what they envisioned it would be. Complain all you like. I will never tell people not to express their feelings. What I will say is that utopias aren't real. Pretending like anyone at any of these game companies care about their audience will always end the same. You are a number on a spreadsheet. That's all. So I want to leave you with this. If you've taken the time to listen to this, I say thank you kindly. If you've made it this long and disagree, I appreciate the fact you've given me your time. Time is a precious commodity. If you love Tekken, as I do, and will continue to do, simply remember that no one ever asked our opinion on what we wanted in a Tekken game. Harada wanted to compete with a few of his friends in game design. Itagaki was more important than the paying customer. We were lucky to get a balanced game once upon a time, and because even a broken clock is right twice a day, you are allowed to hold out hope and believe that maybe, like Quantum Leap, that next leap will be the leap home. If you're unhappy with the current state of Tekken, then I do have a suggestion. Take it into your own hands. Create the next big fighting game. Be the creative who makes a cynical old man like me say, hey, maybe there's hope yet. But don't bet on companies to do so. Don't ask Harada, Murray, Bamco, Capcom, Sega to give you what you actually want. There's a boardroom full of people telling them that you don't know what you want, as well as millions of people online who all want these things to go in so many different directions that simply hearing feedback is something akin to kryptonite to these companies. If you don't believe me, then just take a look at Disney and their stock. If you don't believe me, just look at Russell T Davies and his comments about the fandoms. From Star Wars to Warhammer 40k, from Star Trek to James Gunn's Superman, from Stephen King to J.K. Rowling. First they tell you to like it, then they blame you when you don't. So you can go online and argue all day, or, as I've done, you can create new things. Some of it will stick, most of it won't. But at the end of the day, you've at least attempted to give back to the world something positive. Something that is a reflection of what you originally wanted to see. Until we meet again, my friends, remember, life is short. Buy the ticket, take the ride, and I'll try to think of a better outro for the next one. Alright, get out of here.